Marvin Scott.
Good morning, everyone. He's a former Marine, a combat veteran, a former FBI agent, former congressman, or a former convicted felon. Michael Grimm is telling voters he paid his debt to society and is asking them to overlook his criminal record and send him back to Congress. He's currently locked in a contentious campaign, a battle with the incumbent Dan Donovan in the Republican primary scheduled for June 26th. The latest poll, this one by the Democrats, give Grimm a 10-point lead over Donovan. Good to welcome Michael Grimm to WPIX 11 News Close-Up.
Good to be here, sir.
All right. I know the thing that you're stressing, there's a lot of back and forth going in this campaign, a lot of contentiousness, and I know you want to talk about issues, but there are some other things we got to get out of the way. First of all, let me ask about this poll. This poll, which shows you 10 points ahead, was a poll taken by the Democrats, which I've heard. Of course, the Democrats want you to win the primary because they say you have a zero chance of winning the general election.
Well, if you ask my opponent, that's exactly what he'll say. But look, let's just look at Politics 101. Forget Michael Grimm, forget this race. If you alienate your base, you usually can't win. That's how I won in 2010. I went against an entrenched Democrat incumbent. He voted against, as a Democrat, against President Obama on Obamacare, and he lost his base. Didn't mean they voted for me. They just stayed home and they didn't vote. That's exactly what's happening right now. Dan Donovan, who hasn't passed one bill, has been pro-amnesty, and he's voted against Trump down the line, whether it was banning sanctuary cities, tax reform, or even repealing Obamacare. He voted against all of them. So the base will never vote for him now. As a result, he can't win. He can't beat the Democrat. I'm the only one that can win.
You talk about sanctuary cities, but when you were in Congress, you had a different position as far as security, for stronger security. Now you're calling for strong, secure borders when you didn't, when you were in Congress.
Absolutely not. You're completely wrong on that. I was part of the group that was calling for border security, E-Verify, ending chain migration, all of the things. And I said at the time that we would give the Democrats DACA. That was our only leverage. We would give them DACA if we got the border security and the E-Verify and everything else that we wanted. At that time, we weren't asking for a wall because we didn't have Donald Trump. We had President Barack Obama.
Now, I want to ask you something about the sanctuary cities, because you talk about that, make an issue. You voted against the bill because it would have, you criticized Donovan for not being conservative enough and for supporting sanctuary cities. He voted against the bill because it would have penalized the NYPD by withholding anti-terrorism funds. If you were in Congress now, how would you have voted on that?
I would have absolutely voted to ban sanctuary cities. Look, sanctuary cities are dangerous. It's a dangerous policy. And I want to emphasize this. President Trump ran on banning sanctuary cities, and the people voted for him. And Staten Islanders and Brooklynites alike do not want to be a sanctuary city. MS-13 just stated that they want to shoot cops. They told all their members, shoot police officers. Why would we want to give sanctuary to MS-13? So my opponent was dead wrong to vote against the ban of sanctuary cities.
So you would have voted differently, even 100%. Though it cost New York City terrorism funds?
Absolutely, because the bottom line is that it's a dangerous policy. Mayor de Blasio is never going to change his ultra-liberal progressive policies if we don't put pressure on him. As the federal government, the only authority you have is through the power of the purse strings or your budget. So if we don't put the budget in front of him, how else are we going to get him to change a dangerous policy?
Michael, the question is, are these immigrants, these undocumented, more of a threat than the terrorists who want to destroy us? We need those funds in New York City. The police needs those funds.
Okay, but see what you just said, and this is the left's, I would say they do very well. They conflate the issue. What a sanctuary city means is that when someone that is illegal commits a local crime and is arrested by local police, they will not notify ICE. So you're talking about people that are dangerous, some of them committing heinous crimes like rape, robbery, gun charges, drug charges, and gang charges. Why would we give them sanctuary? I'm sorry, but I think that's dead wrong.
Let's talk then. I know you want to talk about the issues. There are so many contentious allegations that going back and forth between you and Donovan. What do you see? What are the priorities if you go back to Congress? What is it you're going to do that he hasn't done?
Well, let's just look at the record. First of all, in approximately 3 years, I passed 8 bills, some of which were national level bills, like the flood insurance bill. He hasn't passed even one bill into law. I had Barack Obama in office and a Democrat Senate. What's his excuse? He's done nothing. The other thing is, I would have voted to repeal Obamacare. I would have voted to ban sanctuary cities. I would have voted for the tax bill. I would have supported our president. I wouldn't be supporting Russia collusion. So my record is replete. $60 billion from Sandy. I rebuilt the marina. $40 million for Staten Island University Hospital. Money for 2 new ferries. I can go on and on about the accomplishments that I did for Staten Island. I passed a bill that brought energy into Brooklyn, created hundreds of local jobs, and lowered energy costs. This is the record that I'm running on. And I would say this to my opponent. Every attack that I've made against my opponent has been on his voting record. Nothing personal, voting record. Isn't that what we're supposed to be talking about? I don't think that's dirty politics to say you voted this way and I would have voted that way.
You're saying he's not conservative enough, and you say you're the insurgent candidate.
Well, let's not take my word for it. The Conservative Review gives him an F. The NRA gives him an F. We can go down the road with his votes. Again, he, out of 9 Republicans that are in the Republican Party in the state of New York, he has the most anti-Trump voting record. The most anti-Trump voting record. That speaks for itself.
Are you now more conservative than you were when you were in Congress?
Absolutely. Because of what I went through with the conviction, I am absolutely more conservative because once you lose your constitutional rights and you see the political abuse in our justice system, I believe it makes you more conservative.
I have to ask you this, because you represent the 11th, would represent the 11th congressional district, which is really Trump country. And they had the highest vote for President Trump of any county in the entire country.
In the primary, yes.
Are you finding that politically expedient to be more conservative, to be more Trump?
I don't think it's more expedient. I think look, President Trump has surrounded himself with what? Mostly Marines, okay? As a Marine combat veteran, I have my president's back. And everyone that knows me knows this. I haven't changed my position on anything. However, look at my opponent. He voted against banning sanctuary cities and now just recently dropped a bill to ban sanctuary cities. It's a ploy. It's a tactic because he hasn't actually accomplished anything.
Well, let me go back to something I'm trying to find here in my notes. There was something here about increased border. Now, you're appealing to the Trump base. Now, you carried, when you were in Congress, you took a hard line against increased border security. That was the 2012 Homeland Security Bill. Now you're calling for stronger measures to secure those borders than you did when you were in Congress.
Right. But again, you're conflating things. To say I took a hard line against border security
is
absolutely not true.
That
I took a hard line.
Flipped on your position?
I have never, ever flipped on my position. And there are newspaper article after newspaper article explaining my position from the day I entered Congress till now. It's never changed. I always said we should use DACA as leverage to get all of the security measures. I was always for closing our borders. That's on all of my literature from the first day I ran as a candidate in 2010. As a United States Marine, as a former FBI agent, I know exactly why we need border security. It's dangerous because it's not just illegals crossing the border. It's also human trafficking, which no one wants to speak about. It's also the drugs that constantly flow in.
So you feel we need that wall that he's...
Absolutely, we should build the wall. Why wouldn't we? You know, when you look, people say, oh, a wall doesn't work. Then why have they built walls everywhere? If you look, even the Vatican has a wall. Walls do work. They're proper security, and we should, and I'm not saying the wall by itself and we shouldn't have technology and drones and border agents. That's one element of it, but a wall is important, and more importantly, because the people voted for it. That's why.
Okay. Many more questions. We're going to take a break. Stay with us as we continue our conversation with Michael Grimm, who's a candidate in the Republican primary.